Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhantu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds. Well, hi. Welcome back to Desperate Attune and our current campaign of Blades in the Dark, called A Candle Ablaze, set in the city of Uduasha. I'm Tree, or Soumithri, I'm your GM, and I will be running this game for you today.
My name is Emma. I am playing Joan, a retired ghost fighter, and I use she/her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Klow. In real life, my name is Zoheb, and I'm a he/him, and I'm playing Miras Chakraborty, the crew's leech, who is an engineer turned cult leader.
I'm Prince, he/him. I play Vickers, a roof baller and Miras's wife.
I'm Soap. I play Abbas, the religious scholar, and pain in Miraz's side. And my pronouns are he and him.
Oh, I actually forgot my pronouns, which are all of them. I really don't care.
Hi everyone, this is Zoheb with a recap of the previous episode. In the previous episode, Joan ate a crow. That's it, that's the entire recap. We don't need to know anything else. Joking aside, last episode the crew decided to intercept the hive's operations with Begum Bushantara, and we have discovered that the Ashcroft family are involved in this tangled web of intrigue as well. Vickers decided to interrupt her sister Lizzie's meeting with the hive operatives Guppy and Bhaga by going to the restaurant where Guppy and Bhaga were going to meet with Vickers, and she encouraged them to leave the meeting by telling them to do a dine and dash, and then she took their place and is now waiting. Meanwhile, Joan realized that there was a sort of surveillance golem in the shape of a crow watching the scene, and she decided to track it down and stop it by eating it. And meanwhile, Abbas has intercepted Guppy and is currently busy trying to distract him and teach him a better way of life.
Yeah, and at that moment I will call over.
I
Happily,
wave to her.
Yeah, I will also wave. Yoo-hoo, Elizabeth, come on,
Lizzie,
you sit down.
Yeah.
Lizzie, get over here.
This is not. I can't. Yeah, sorry. I say I as if I'm Elizabeth. Elizabeth can't say no, which she really wants to. So she will approach, sit down. Immediately, there is brought for her in a different teapot, a different set of china, her own tea. I think she's a regular here, and they know her. And it's brought to her steaming hot at the moment that she arrives. And she looks at it and takes a sip and just raises an eyebrow at you in order to hide her confusion.
I hold up in front of her face this kind of really thin sort of object slathered in some sort of very orange sort of goo.
Mhm.
And I say, look, they have radiant energy marmalade, and they have placed it on top of dried jellyfish, just like they serve in Charter Hall. Miraz is visibly excited. It's not like trying to annoy her. This is like great.
Yeah.
And it's like right up in front of her eyes.
Yeah. She says, brother-in-law, sister, I once more ask you not to call me that ridiculous name. What are you doing here? I expected to be conducting a meeting with some colleagues. Instead, I find you. I don't suppose you scared them off?
Oh yes, I heard. On father's behalf, right?
I beg your pardon? You've heard?
Oh yes. I picked it up through the grapevine. You know, you're not very subtle, Elizabeth. You really ought to work on it. Half the city knows, I should think.
Oh, she's spitting mad now because she's like, I beg your fucking pardon? Are you saying that I, Elizabeth Ashcroft, right? Like, if this was a cartoon, you would see.
Yeah. I also love how it's Vickers accusing her of not being subtle, since Vickers has the subtlety of a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
The dried jellyfish is still in front of her eyes.
Yeah, if this was a cartoon, you would see her head like build up steam, literally, right? And she says, well, not that it's any of your business, but I am conducting an investment on behalf of Ashcroft Industries. I believe that it will pay off handsomely for us, and I do not see why you would be concerned with it in any fashion whatsoever.
No. You must understand, Lizzie. And then he kind of like puts the sort of like jellyfish cracker down, and he like puts it down hard enough on the plate that it makes a little snap. And then he kind of gives a little ironic smile and says, "Now, Lizzie, if I hear that my sister-in-law is now in cahoots with the Hive criminal organization, then that reflects very badly on the Chakraborty name, and I can't help that." You've been in Dustfall. What kind of amateur are you? Don't you know about the Hive?
Elizabeth Ashcroft of the Ashcroft line will say, is this meant to be funny? Are you attempting a joke?
No, not at all. Not at all, Elizabeth. We're worried. We're looking out for you. Now, you look awfully red and flushed. Look, this is not good for your blood pressure. Miraz, give me some of that medicine.
Yes. And then he like slams it on the table.
What the medicine that I'm going to give her, by the way, is, which I know Miraz has a supply of, is trans powder.
Okay. I mean, if you wanted to take anything that you give to her, it's going to be a roll.
I know.
But you have set yourself up very well for this in that she's already so angry that like just one push in the right direction will have her do whatever you want her to do. Whether, Vickers and Miraz are doing this on purpose, we don't know. But,
Yes. No, so I think this is like a drug that makes people suggestive and whatnot, but it also is a sedative. So this is kind of a two-edged thing. Like, this is genuinely something that Vickers... I mean, let's remember, this is a Victorian setting, right?
Yeah,
people do sometimes take like heroin for their nerves. Yeah. So that's basically what we're going to do here. We're going to give her some like hard drugs for her nerves.
Yeah.
And then incidentally, if that clouds her judgment a little bit, that's just a side effect, right?
And I think the truth is that like, because she's a noble and because it is this kind of setting, it's not necessarily that she has not taken it before.
No, exactly. So, it is for the nerves. It is calming, and I mean Vickers disagrees with it because it's factory made, but it is genuinely a nerve medicine.
Yeah, it is also somewhat insulting, I think, to your sister because it implies that she needs it.
Yes. However, I think I am in a position to command now because this is Vickers in her element, which he was like, "No, I insist, you must take it."
And so you are touching on, the famed. You are the elder sibling. He's always been the younger one.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Can we just get straight? Like, are we trying to take what she has from her now directly, or is there or do you guys have a more elaborate plan in mind?
I don't really know that we have a more elaborate plan. I have not thought further ahead than that it would be great to get her in a state where we can like trick her easily, and if we drug her, we can trick her easily. Whether that means like giving us the letter or whatever she's carrying, or whether it means going along with her and finding out more. I don't really know. So if you have a plan, absolutely go for it.
I do have a plan, but let's see this. Let's see this resolve first.
Okay, so what's my position and effect to order her to take her medicine?
Yeah, so I think you are in a. First, let's say that you will have great effect here. I think unless something goes very wrong, her saying no, I'm not going to do this is not. She will just look more petulant, right? But I think that you are in a risky position because I think what is going to happen is that if she is under the influence, she's also more likely to act unwisely towards you, generally. Like all of her mistrust, all of her whatever the trauma is, right? Like, is much more likely to just bubble up from the surface, to the surface.
Yeah, risky, great.
I wish to aid you.
Thank you.
And I think the way I'm aiding you is that, okay, so it's transporter, right? But I think, sorry, did you describe how we are disguising it?
I just said, like, give me some medicine for her nerves. So I'm literally, I'm not even really asking you to disguise it. I'm just like upping the dosage.
I think there's a small, like, sort of jar, the clay jar, and then Miraz puts it on the table, and then he kind of leans in, and very seriously and without any shred of irony, he starts saying, "Look, Lizzie, look, this is okay. I'm with you, right? I prefer the scientific method. I like to get the patent pills. I have subscriptions and all of that. I don't really hold with any of this like homeopathic quackery that they got up to in my hometown. But Vickers took me to this amazing Dr. Amitav, and oh my god, oh my god, I can't even explain. He's the real deal. I was skeptical too at first, but he's the real deal, and he gave me this medication, and ever since then, I've been feeling amazing. Like any sort of injury, any cough, it just goes away. Look, see, I know it looks a little odd and it smells a bit funny, and it's like a jar full of like this sort of black sort of paste that smells very fennel forward and mint forward, and says 1 spoonful of this, and any problem you have, right, just gone. And like he's genuinely being sincere. He, aside from the fact that there's transparency, he's now trying to get her onto Amitav's special black medicine.
So I actually do have a devil's bargain for you here, which is if going forward, Vickers is going to use this as proof that like Miraz can change, and never mind the trans powder, he's ready to take up this cause. I think that's worth a die, because it's going to create loads of problems, and you're going to do it to yourself.
I don't know if I want to take this devil's bargain, actually. I feel like... do you have opinions, Miraz?
I think he's going to be using this medication and so on, but like...
I don't think it's an interesting source of conflict, so I will not take it. I will take the 1 die from assist, but that will be that. I'm very tempted to trade position for effect and go to desperate extreme, I will say.
Okay, let's talk about... Okay, I think the desperate consequence, if it comes to pass, is that she will detail, maybe for the first time ever, exactly why she feels so ill-treated by you, and she will reveal in what fashion you have traumatized her. And it will, because I get the feeling Vickers does actually care about her family, it will impact you, right? But I think the extreme effect is that, again, it's possible that she will confide this in you because she feels vulnerable, and you are her sister after all, and so on.
I think I will not take it, actually. I think it feels crueler than Vickers is.
Yeah.
Like, Vickers is fundamentally not cruel to her sister. We are kind of taking advantage of her a little bit, but only because she's actively trying to fuck us over. So, like, the way Vickers sees it, this is damage control. She hates me, but I don't hate her, and I don't wish to do her any great harm. So,
I suggest an alternative sort of desperate consequence, which might be that you have to talk to her alone. Like, I have to leave, or something like that.
It feels...
it
doesn't feel desperate to me.
It doesn't feel desperate enough. No. I'll take it risky great with 1 bonus die. I'll leave it at that. And I roll a 5.
5, a 1, a 2, and a 3, so that 5 is very good. Yeah, so I think she looks down and says, I'm not a child to be given medicine, Victoria. And I think she looks down and she says, fine. And she will
Mm-hmm.
not pour it into her tea because that is doing like a great disservice to the tea. I think she like just gingerly like uses like a teaspoon to put just a little bit of it on her finger. No, sorry, on the spoon. And she will take it. And then she swills her mouth out with water and then she drinks her tea. And you definitely see like it.
And to clarify,
No, yeah, go on.
yeah. And to clarify, I think she has taken this before. It is like her usual nerve medicine. It's just, you know, a little bit more than she usually does, especially like when she's out and about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like she's a bit flustered now, which also helps why she may not be taking the right dosage. Never mind that like it's not what she's used to, right? Which is say your formulation is somewhat different. And I think she says, then you will pay for our meal.
Oh, you broke off there, but the consequence is that we will pay for the meal.
Correct.
You know what? That's actually fair. I think Vickers will actually do that. Again, I don't hate this woman or anything. Like, you know, our relationship as sisters is extremely fraught. And we are at each other's throats in a lot of ways. But yeah, if she wants me to pay for the meal, that seems decent. So I'll spend 1 coin.
No. Take the consequence. Don't spend the coin.
Okay.
I'll do something else later.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will take the consequence. I'll say like, well, of course. Especially seeing as you've been stood up by your associates. It only seems the right thing to do. Don't worry about it, Lizzie. I will say, and slightly condescendingly call her Lizzie now, because, okay, you're invoking me as the older sister.
Yeah, then you get to be the older.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is a double-edged sword, and both edges face both people at all times. I think she says, yes, they were supposed to be very reliable. They didn't seem very bright when I spoke to them, but they assured me that they would follow all my instructions, and I only gave them one. I said, wait here until I come for you. Where are they?
Yeah, I think I will let her talk her heart out here. I'll be like, oh yes, this is dreadful. Just be a good listener while like the powder takes its effect and she's put in more and more of like a suggestible state.
I think like she like you hear like all of the things that have annoyed her, but at some point she rambles. She begins to tell you what happened this morning, right? And what happened this morning was the culmination of something she's been planning since your charity roof ball event, which is that she tells you, it's been annoying trying to get their father to agree to this, but he finally saw that it was the right thing to do, which is that while we are designing the engineering for the airships and while we are, building the bones of it, we need someone the interiors pop, and is Begum Bashundara, because Begum Bashundara has a forward-looking not Duskwalian even, like real mindset that lends itself to a very unique sensibility. And basically she's going to give the Begum a contract that she really wants. The Ashcrofts get an influential high society person in Uduasha buying into the airship thing, and the Hive get, fingers in both pies. So until you came along, this was great for everyone.
So this bribe is not so much a bribe, but a contract.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, yes. So Vickers' family, we have not mentioned it. Okay, I will explain it. Vickers' father, this was established like a long time ago. I had almost forgotten about it myself. But Vickers' father is in town to build an airship. That is the reason why he is here. And it's the big investment of the Ashcroft family. And it's a big part of modernizing Uduasha and giving it, modern transportation, which is in this case some sort of gigantic, horrific, steam-powered Zeppelin thing.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Uduasha's revolution in transport, or is it going to be Uduasha's Hyperloop?
Yeah,
we will see. We will see. Yeah, especially because there was supposed to be Uduasha in public transport, and that hasn't really caught on yet.
No, I think what the situation is of course that this high-speed railway will be displaced by the much more modern and totally realistic airship. You guys, you just wait and see.
Yeah. And Begum Bashundara,
I'm sure the Ministry of Preservation that is in charge of the railways is a big fan of this airship. I'm sure. We'll see.
That's why it's being built far away from their influence.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, crew, I think what my plan right now is what I want to do is I want to get a hold of this contract and alter it. I think that would be the funniest outcome here.
Okay.
Like, get a hold of the contract and give Big and Bashundra like a valuable contract to do something completely unrelated to our temple.
And
But-
I think I have a way for you to get a hold on the contract.
Okay, great.
I think we are in a tea house
Mhm.
where there are like people walking about with platters with teapots, but also open filled teacups. That, of course, an incredible hazard for maybe a cup full of tea to fall on a table and a little bit on people's clothes, and then they all stand up and they have to fuss over the table, and like waiters will crowd and try to clean up, and this would be incredibly distracting for anyone trying to make sure that their contract is not taken away, for instance.
Indeed. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, how are you making this happen?
Well, I think we see Joan stumble out of an alley, having just climbed down from the roof. Fingertips of both hands like pressed hard against her mouth and eyes wide in like shock and confusion at what she just
Mhm.
did. Because as much as that bird didn't see it coming, she didn't really either.
Yeah.
And she's gonna make her way into the shop, kind of casually hang around, look around, and I think it's going to be the incredibly simple act of simply waiting for a platter, or well, someone bearing a platter, to move close enough to your table that it would be effective to simply walk into them with high speed.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Absolutely
Mhm.
normal behavior.
I mean, it's incredibly normal behavior to walk into a shop, look for the people who you are meant to be sitting with, and then excitedly walk at them and it accidentally missing the person who is crossing in front of you with a platter of tea.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Is this pre-planned, by the way?
I think we probably discussed possibilities for getting a contract away from someone, and getting them dirty is always a
I think Mira's, just to sell the illusion better that we are all in very high spirits and you're really really excited to meet us. Mira's will stand up and look at Joan and say, "Oh my God, it's Joan, the absolute ledge! Get over here, Joan!"
Oh my
What?
god.
Okay.
Has Miraz turned into a lad?
He's cosplaying the young men that he met in Charterhouse University.
Yeah.
Mm.
right.
This is what
Yeah,
men
that
talk
is
like.
that is
isn't it?
absolutely what men talk
Of
like.
course.
Yeah. Mhm.
The absolute ledge.
Excellent.
I have to, but this is how roof bowlers
He's not sure what architecture has to do with
talk.
He doesn't understand what architecture has to do with anything, why we're talking about ledges and balconies, but
It's fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hang out on any good balconies lately? He waggles his eyebrows.
Good. This works because you're also in the foundation, and they absolutely talk about cool
Balconies and
balconies.
ledges,
So
Mhm.
That's actually how he joined the foundation. Is that he just kept talking about balconies and ledges,
Yes.
and someone was like, "Oh, you might actually like enjoy hanging out with us." Very good. Okay, so I think if you want to run into a person carrying tea, actually like a very difficult thing to do, right? I think the challenge here is doing it in such a fashion that you don't get any hot tea on yourself, and B, you don't get any
Mhm.
hot tea on anyone who is not your target. And I think generally the problem here is that like
Right.
this is piping hot, and it actually can hurt quite a lot if like it falls on someone. And you
Mhm.
are lucky in that he's wearing like quite a thick jacket, right? Because again, Leviathan Hunter Captain and so on. So he's probably not going to be hurt if it falls on her, but even though she will be annoyed, but like it's the splash damage, haha, that you should be worried about.
Aha.
So risky standard.
is Miraz assisting with his absolute ledge?
Seems
It's
so,
very
right?
stressful to be putting myself out there, and everyone's looking at me.
Uh-huh,
These actors
yeah.
saying, like, "What the fuck is this man talking about?"
Yeah, very good. So you assist, and I'll try to get the letter, I guess, or the contract.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I think this must be a rec roll.
It's absolute, yeah.
Hmm. We will see what we are wrecking. Reputations, tea platters,
Ourselves.
dresses.
Yeah.
That too. What should be position effect?
Yeah, I think this
etc.?
is risky and it's standard. I think the risk here is
Mhm.
harm to generally, yourself, other people, and so on. And I think you can do this, which is that you will induce her to take her jacket off. And by now, she has absolutely rambled her way into telling you where the letter is, because you know this for a fact. So you know where the target. Yeah.
Okay, good. So it's in a jacket pocket or something. Excellent.
Yeah, this is very, very tricky because I have a single die because of your assist.
Excellent.
So I'm very curious to see if it will be a good one.
Do you want the devil's bargain or
I
something?
actually have a very funny devil's bargain in my head,
Mhm.
which is that you will realize that there is a very expensive tea here that would go incredibly well with Ferrero Rocher crows that you are now going to develop a taste for.
Yes, I will take it.
Maybe
Setting us up for a tea house.
something that you spill, right? You realize it kind of I like the idea that even while you're doing this, you remember the taste and you're like, oh my god, this hint of mint.
That smell.
Yeah, and you will, it's gonna be a problem, but it may not be it may be a good thing.
Who knows? We shall see. The rolls are 3
Very
and
good.
a 4.
I mean, yeah, it's important to get both the assist and the devil's bargain here.
Mhm.
So I think with a 4, what will happen is that you are distracted by exactly the tea that this waitress is carrying, right? She's and she also doesn't expect you to move as fast as you do. You are remarkably agile. So when you hit her, she goes, whoops, and then next thing she knows, everything has fallen, right? And I think that the consequence here is actually, I think that Elizabeth is quite badly hurt. I think there is some of the tea has fallen on her face and it's burnt her, and she's crying out in pain as if to be oh my god, that's terrible. And you probably hear her be more uncouth than you've ever heard her before, right? So rather than the problem of, oh no, I've ruined my jacket, this is much more, oh no, I'm in genuine pain.
Okay, I will have to protect
Yes,
Elizabeth here. It's just I'm a responsible big sister.
Yeah, I put her in this situation.
Yeah, I want to point out that Elizabeth is low-key trying to kill me for the inheritance, or at least get me disinherited. So I'm being very nice to her by comparison. But yeah, it's the kind of person Vickers is. So I will resist with prowess, and what I will do is as this. She probably does get some of the tea on her, but Vickers just moves very, very quickly, and of course, having a purse equipped with everything you might need, she's one of those people who can just snap out some wet tissue and moist towelettes and whatever at a moment's instance.
Yeah.
And so that is what I'm going to do.
Excellent.
And I will roll prowess because I'm resisting this by moving quickly.
I think if you move quickly enough, and oh my god, so you rolled a 6, a 2, and a 6. And when you roll a critical...
I roll a critical hit on my resistance rolls.
And when you do that, you actually remove 1 stress. So please tell us, why is this oddly
You really
relaxing?
love your family.
Why it's oddly relaxing for me? I know why I am stress relieved. Because I've realized that not only do I have moist towelettes or wet tissues, I have Amitabh's burn cream. And I will put the legendary green medicine on her face and know that she's going to be all right.
I think you can use the black medicine for the same purpose, actually.
Yeah, yes, Amitabh's all-purpose injury reliever.
Oh my god! And
They all work. It's just
wonderful.
Yeah, I will fly up and fuss over her and go oh dear, Elizabeth, are you quite all right? Here, let me put this on your face. Do take off your jacket, it's scalding. Yeah. And so, I'm going to put medicine on her face and take off her jacket with the contract in it.
To be honest, it works. She's still I think not as badly hurt now. She's just a bit reeling from the experience, and because she's again not in full possession of her wits or whatever, she's very I know, I will do whatever you say. And I think that as you take the jacket off her, you can see that there is the letter, and behind the letter there is a little pocketbook that that Elizabeth always keeps on her, and it is where she records her most innermost thoughts and secrets and desires. Of course, the reason that you know it is that probably in the past you have stolen it, just for funsies, as siblings do.
Yeah, we have gotten on each other's nerves. time to time.
Her innermost desires are mostly like, today I thought about using a knife.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Today I thought about using a flamethrower.
Yes. So what I will do is I will pull off her jacket and I will probably take her aside to like a
Yeah.
bathroom to like
I
help
mean,
treat
like,
her
there's
injuries.
like a commotion.
And I will toss the jacket to Miraz, and then we will see one other thing. I think so. Miraz will get this like contract in its neat envelope inside the jacket, and then we will see sticking out of Vickers' purse that she leaves behind is her father's official Ashcroft stationery, on which we can write a brand new
Excellent.
contract.
Very good.
Which I think I have marked documents, and I think
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense that I can have some of my
Yeah.
father's stationery because. It's not a super. You can tell me if I need to
Well-
roll something, but I feel like it's a thing I can reasonably have.
You could have like a stamp, right?
Yeah, and I also want to say that like I think this tells us something interesting about your very complicated family dynamic, which is that your dad hates your husband and your sister hates you, but you and your
Yep.
dad actually get on fine.
Mhm.
You know, like you know that like he wants you to be the
Yeah.
heir, and he knows that this is what you want to be doing with your life. But actually, when you hang out, it's
Mhm.
fine. So if you say, "Hey, can I have some stationery?" He's like, "Yeah, of course. Why would you ask?"
Do you not have a signet ring?
I think getting his signet ring would be more complicated. That
Yeah.
we may have to forge.
No, I was just surprised that you don't have one.
Like a seal or something, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like the wax
maybe-
stamp.
Maybe I do actually. Yeah. Okay.
I'll say this. I established in the beginning that he signed this contract. Now, nobody knows that except him
Yeah,
okay.
and Elizabeth, right? So if Boshundara got a contract with just a stamp on it, he wouldn't necessarily think something was wrong. But your dad would definitely know something was wrong when he
Yeah.
inspected that contract.
The thing is, we will still have to forge the signature and so on. This is why I'm leaving this to Miraz, who's very
Yeah.
good with his hands. And we have the original contract with
Yes.
the signature on it, so you could just like put a light behind it and like
Yeah,
copy it or something. I don't know. We will need to find some time for you to write a new contract, but I think it is something Miraz can do. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you did establish, I think, that Miraz is quite meticulous and like good at this sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, it should be good.
So you have some blank paper and you have the contract, and you can like basically copy it entirely, signature and intro and everything, and just like change the location, essentially.
Yeah, I think in that case, let's just briefly cut back to Abbas because I think enough time has passed that Goopy is now getting like quite like nervous, right? So I'm going to do two things. The first thing I will do is I will take this hive reinforcements clock again because time has passed. And the second thing that I will do is that I will point out that like Goopy is himself somewhat like we only established that he was being stoled, and I think you are at the edge of like that establishment. So he's now being like, I have to find her. I don't know what's going on. Probably now, in fact, he's saying maybe she's back at the tea house now, and maybe he's gonna look at Abbas and say, "Is there any way like you disguise me or something? I can't go back in there, but like I just need to know if like you know." And he wants someone to go and check, and the only person he can ask is.
All right. Because I was thinking, so I was thinking if I could just like keep talking to him this whole time to keep his mind
You
off.
could absolutely, yeah. I think if
this,
that's what you want to do, that is definitely possible. Especially if you are doing this in a way where like he's not super nervous. I think if he's in the general area, in his mind, he's thinking, I will catch her. He doesn't know he's already missed. So as long as you just want to like hang out with him, that's very doable.
Because well, the plan was to basically talk his ear off to the point where like I essentially numb his brain and he can't focus on what it is that he
Yeah.
was actually
Incredible.
supposed to
Yes.
do. Yeah. No, I mean, Goopy, you know, it's actually very unfair that you go into a restaurant like this and Lizzie doesn't even tell you how the payment systems work here. Do you actually know, Goopy, that in this restaurant, the chef is Iruvian, right? And how many coin did you say you have to pay for this meal? And do you know how much of it actually goes to the chef? Almost nothing, right? Just think about this, Goopy. Think about it for a second, right? It is us Iruvians who are going into this accuracy restaurant with our money, paying the accuracy who don't then pay us back for the service. Now, actually, I am beginning a newspaper, okay? And I would really love to interview you on the labor.
Sorry, please go on.
I really love to interview Goopy on the unfair treatment of Iruvian labor in the city, ever since the accuracy influence has really taken hold here. And you're here. I have a notepad. I think if you don't mind, I can ask you just a few questions about just how you're feeling about the job that you're doing. Do you feel like you're being fairly treated here?
Yeah, okay. So you can absolutely do this. There's a few things here, all of which I'm interested in. The first is the idea that you're going to interview Goopy as someone who is working for an Akarosi crime organization instead of an Iruvian crime organization like a Patriot would. The second is that
That's fine. It's fine. It's from the dagger.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The second is
Yeah.
that there is this implication that maybe Goopy might become a revolutionary or might become interested in the newspaper, right? In some fashion. Maybe he's got a poet's heart. You don't know. And the third thing that strikes me is that you could just simply be working on your long-term project to do the newspaper, right? And you could be choosing to do that willfully, while in fact everything else is going on over there, and you've just chosen to take this moment to go, you know what? I could just further my own agenda for a second. Don't worry about it. So all of these things are interesting.
Yes. So remind me, Goopy and Vaga are they are
Yes.
Iruvian workers for Dagger Isle. Okay, yeah. Then Abbas is obviously interested in their plight, especially because they're working, for a foreign criminal organization. What would drive a man to?
Yeah.
All right, but I think in terms of driving his own agenda, this is the kind of man who's almost kind of absent-minded. He's like, "Oh right, yeah, we're doing so." He's completely just I think Abbas is genuinely having this is almost not manipulation, right? Abbas is genuinely gonna have a good time talking with Goopy about this stuff, and then forget that he's doing a score.
In fact, I like the difference in texture of everybody in the tea house is talking proper Akarosi, and in very refined accent, and then you and Goopy are basically the only thing missing is the chai stand where you were drinking chai and smoking a cigarette and chatting, right? In Iruvian. And I think, this is absolutely possible. I almost don't even think there's a risk here in that you've already kind of accepted that you are going to be separated, right? So given that that's kind of...
I know. I have a suggestion for what the risk might be.
Sure.
Which is maybe you can interview Goopy, but maybe you could even get him to write his experiences for you. And maybe Goopy is one of those people who, when someone lets him write, he writes a lot. He writes his soul out.
Yeah.
But he's really bad at it. So if you have to publish him, it's actually not going to be very good for your circulation for the magazine.
Yeah.
Because it's very tedious.
Yeah, so let's say then that I hesitate to assign a position because in my mind, this is truly beyond desperate because I've been in the position of trying to edit copy that is impossible to edit. The only thing you should really be doing is throwing it in the bin. And so let us say that it is the kind of role where, depending on how you roll, this will be the quality of the work that you get out. And a 1, 2, 3 is truly bad.
I wonder if one of the consequences, because I've got a clock going about the progress with the newspaper. I wonder if this might turn the clock back because so much time has to go into because just so much time has to go into editing his work.
The problem here is that his work itself would advance, right? So you'd be kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So rather than that, I think
Isn't that a reasonable consequence though? If this role generates a consequence, then the consequence is the newspaper's hurt and the progress goes backwards.
Okay, I'm going to. I think I should roll study because I'm trying to get usable information out of him. I wonder because I don't think.
I think you could. Yeah, I think you could roll study here. I don't think that is impossible, but I think study indicates quite a different approach, right? It's not you just chatting to him necessarily. It's that actually what you're really focusing on is getting the information out, right? So in fact, let's say that the consequence here might be that you reveal something about the temple to Goopy inadvertently, right? Because you're just so focused on getting the information out that you don't realize you've said something. But
yeah, I was framing it as I have to ask the right questions to get anything usable, or like kind of like a journalist, right? Like, so I wonder if that's more of study than say concert, but and the consequences that might be different. So
Yeah, I think like consequences are different here. The reason that I suggested that with study you have this consequence of like letting something slip is precisely because you are so focused on the studying that you might not be paying attention to the talking. But I don't think that makes sense as much for Abbas while you're talking, because you're actually good at talking also.
you know what? Let's just go with concert. I think like I'm talking to him as a friend almost, right? So let's do that.
5. 3 and a 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what happens here is that we're talking to him about like with the work that you're doing. He's super interested. In fact, he brings up, maybe I could write for you. And I don't think, it seems to me like you don't really have the heart to say no to him, because I mean it's an authentic voice. And I think the risky consequence here is that you, while talking to him about this, reveal something about yourself and the temple. The way that I'm thinking about this is that like he's saying, I'm going to write about my experiences and my past and how it's led me to this decision. Right? And maybe you let something slip in the same tone in the other direction. Right. So, like it's something compromising in some way, right? Like, so what do you think that is?
I might let something slip, I think, because I think Abbas has been a little bit cagey about, like, he's mentioned before that, like, he's wary of giving into violent side of himself, right? Like, he's mentioned this to the doctor, Parnasan, and he doesn't want to go down this route, and I think he might let slip that, something about either like being associated with the other contact that Abbas had, which are now one of his rivals is the Tardal Achadib, the IRA kind of stand-in here, right? And he might listen that he was involved with them at some point.
Yeah, maybe like I think Goopy, in fact, like when he describes something about like something that he's done, maybe you say something like, in my day, we did X, in a way that suggests that it wasn't a general way, it was you did that.
Yeah.
And maybe he says something like, wait, you were involved with that bombing?
I mean, look, this was Goopy. This was a different time. Nowadays, we grow up with all of this, and Abbas just sort of vaguely gestures at the Imperial Quarter, right? We grow up with all of this just as part of our lives, but there was a time when we thought that we could maybe put a stop to this before we knew what was coming. And I don't want to. I shouldn't have said anything. I don't want to get too deep into this, but yeah, I was angry. There was a point where I was angry, and I still am a little bit. There are things I've done that I regret.
Yeah, I think this is in fact, I think Goopy gets this like look in his eye, and he says, Aga and I murdered someone. We were boys, and it was an accident. We were just defending ourselves. We've been kind of on the run ever since. And we've been others since. And sometimes I think about how unfair it is. I get very angry too. I think he turns around and looks at the incredible wealth on display in the Imperial Quarter. And this is like a PR thing. Everything in the Imperial Quarter must look very good. So the Empire puts a lot of money into making it look this good. But it is clear where the priorities are. I think he's looking around as if to say, if they hadn't spent the money on this, maybe I would have been better off, and maybe like my best friend would have been better off. And then he turns around and says, we should write about this. Yeah, we should write about our experience. We should write about our pain. And he's like convincing himself now, this is absolutely what we must do.
We must, but we must also be careful not to go down a path from which we can't return.
Not paths from which we can't return. You turn around and then you can return from them. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this will actually draw a little bit of a smile from us. Like, maybe you're right, Goopy. Maybe people can always change. At least that's what I try to believe. But for myself.
Yeah. Like Morrison, he was really cool, when we first met him, and then he became a sniveling wreck. So, yeah, you never know. Said he went missing. I wonder if he's okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's doing.
Oh,
he's
have you
doing
heard from
fine.
him?
Don't worry about him. I've heard about him. He seemed. I think he's doing
I
better
don't think
now.
this man is smart enough to pick up on like your nervousness or the fact that you're lying, but it's Um,
No, I'm not lying. I've
Yeah,
definitely
correct.
heard about Mortal Sim, and I've heard that he's doing okay. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. In that case, we can cut back to the incredible scene inside the tea shop, which is so different, and what is going on outside. I don't think you're even in the bathroom. I think that you are hurriedly shoved into like a private room that is normally reserved for like you can rent the room out for super special events or whatever, right? But I think for the Ashcrofts,
Mhm.
like you want to be somewhere private, and they want you out of the way while they clean up and they make sure everything is okay. They just kind of like take your entire party and like say,
Yep.
"Oh, just go in here. Don't worry about it. Call us if you need anything."
Okay, so Miraz and Joan, I will leave the contract to you, and I'm just going to distract Elizabeth. I think that is what makes sense. I have a pretty funny way to win us time from the Hive goons, but I don't know if that's like urgent yet.
Okay.
So I will wait with it, and you guys do stuff. And if the Hive goons show up, I may have a way to deal with them.
So there is a fainting couch here. So I imagine that you are treating your sister on this fainting couch.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm probably turning her towards like the wall so she can't see like Miraz reading the contract or whatever he's doing. But yeah.
Like, no, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I think the contract is fairly straightforward. It is a incredible sum of money to be paid to Begum Bashundara to design and execute the complete interiors of this airship. Details on all manner of thing, right? Like amount of money to be spent on materials, how much time to be delivered in, all this stuff. I think the main thing that actually really catches your eye is that the contract states that she will design 3 more, and each of them is going to be unique. And it suggests to you that like, House Ashcroft isn't just going to stop with one airship, guys. It's going to have a bunch of them, and each of them is going to be amazing and special and unique and different.
This is why Vickers doesn't have much money to inherit at the moment, by the way, because my father has sunk all of our money into this dumb project. So
no, but he's convinced this is how you make your fortune back. So
Okay, then I think so. Is the spotlight on us? Okay, then I think I'm going to turn to Joan and say, okay, this is pretty heavy stuff. Joan, you're an absolute ledge. Think you can find me a place where I have a few minutes of privacy to make some adjustments to this contract?
She looks pretty out of it.
Oh, what's wrong with you? You look like you swallowed a bird or something.
I'll go find something. I suppose they can. Yes.
Joan, are you okay?
I'm quite all right. Yes.
Have a spoonful of this, and then I kind of take out another bottle of black medicine that is
Cool.
not full of powder.
Oh no, I don't think eating more will help. I'm just feeling a little bit queasy.
Yes, I see. It's my joke about the bird. Very funny. Yes. The banter and all that. Okay. If you aren't feeling well, I can try to do it myself. Okay.
No, I will go find you a place. It's just I'll be a distraction. I'll make sure no one comes in. How about that?
Okay, excellent. Okay. All right. And then Miraz is kind of like looking at the contract. I think what I'm going to try to do is instead of writing out a whole new substitute contract with the same thing, which will take a lot more time, I'm going to use some sand and stuff to kind of like blot out. So just so that I'm clear, Begum Bashundara is an investor in this project.
She's not an investor in this project. She is a consultant on this project, and she's being paid very well for her time.
Okay, so there's money from the Ashcroft family going into her bank account.
And this is also a bribe to get her to be antagonistic towards us. Like part
Okay.
of this deal of the contract is for her to like screw with us, and we don't want that.
It's kind of more unwritten, but it would have been made clear face to face.
Fair enough.
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the ceaseless temple thus, with both their false names and true. Soumithri, called Tree as the GM. Zoheb, called Klow as Miraz. Prince as Vickers. Emma as Joan. Aadiyat, called Soap as Abbas. Blades in the Dark and the original inspiration for Udo Asha by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Jalandhar intro music by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Keeravani Ragam by U. Srinivas. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at ko-fi.com/desperateattune.